witches, Tiffany here on Bewitching.Bemused. Today we're going to talk about banishing spells. This was a request made by Spiritual Blue Rose 808 Kelly Green. Thank you so much, Kelly, for making this request, and in fact I'm really glad we're getting to this today because banishment spells are a really important tool for any witch to have in their toolbox. I sort of like to think of banishing spells as foundational magic, especially because they can be used in so many different ways, whether you want to banish a person from your life, an entity from your house, energies that you find kind of keep sticking around no matter how many cleansings you do, and it can even be used for banishing bad luck, bad situations, bad habits. It can even help with fighting addiction. However, with that one, same thing that I would say for any kind of healing magic, make sure that you're also getting actual medical treatment. Now, in her request, it wasn't made clear which one specifically this is going to be used for, so we're just gonna cover a few different bases. But let me make a little disclaimer about using this for banishing people. I've actually read a few articles and other people's opinions about using banishing spells against people. Some people view banishments as curse-worthy and think that to banish another person is manipulative because you are doing something to convince them to stay away from you. So you are manipulating their thoughts or something else going on around them, just meddling in their life in some way. To that, I will say, let your own moral compass be your guide. I think it really depends on the situation and the context in which somebody may want to cast a banishing spell upon another person, the reasons for it. It's very debatable, in my opinion, whether or not this could be considered a curse. So just, follow your own moral guideline. As for my own personal take on that subject, which by all means is not the be all end all, and I'm not judging anybody here, but the way I practice my own form of the craft, when it comes to using magic, against another person, specifically a banishing spell, I want to make sure I've exhausted all of my other options. Have I communicated with this person and attempted to firmly set boundaries? If it is extreme enough, have I sought help from a higher authority, whether that's a boss, the police, anybody who is in a position to assist? If those bases are covered and there's nothing I can do and I'm stuck, then yeah, I'm gonna do the spell. As a general rule for every magic practitioner, really let your own beliefs, your own form of practice, and your own moral internal compass be your guide in this scenario. The only thing I do recommend here is that if you are using this to banish a person from your life, make sure you're not in an angry mood when you cast the spell. If you are in an angry mood, you could potentially give the spell a bit more of a curse-like nature. And I mean, hey, if you're okay with that, then do what you want. So try to do it when you're just feeling calm, collected, not when you're feeling overwhelming negative emotions. I have two spells for you today. The first one is going to be general, if you're just banishing something in general or someone, you just want it gone, want them gone. And the other one's a little bit more specific if it is let's say a behavior, you don't want to banish the person entirely, but you need the behavior to be gone. So if your little brother won't stop coming in your room and you don't want to banish him entirely from your life, but you do want to banish him from your room, the more specific one will work. Or if you have a boss who won't stop texting you on your off days, the more specific one would be good to not completely get rid of your boss, but to just end that behavior that you've already asked them, please stop. Or you're afraid to ask them to stop because you don't want to risk your job. But one more quick thing to add before we fully delve into the spells is I don't want to classify this as its own spell, although technically it is, but I want people to remember the power of their words. Now, obviously, I'm not talking about the situations where you've already tried to communicate with the person and set boundaries and it's not working. But I am talking about personal behaviors as well as entities. Do not forget how powerful your words are. If maybe you feel like your house is just stifled with negative energy, you can yell at it to get out. you can yell at it to go away. If you feel like you are just bogged down with new insecurities that just kind of came out of nowhere, or maybe they've always been there, you can look in the mirror and tell them to go away. I think when it comes to personal work like that, it's going to take several times. Do it daily. Tell it to go away. Tell it that it's gone already. There is so much magic just in the things that we say, and I just don't want anybody to forget that. And of course, when it does come to people, a lot of the time shouting in their face, go away, get away from me, it does usually work. Even when sitting down and having a calm, collected adult conversation with them, telling them, I don't like that you're doing this, please stop. Even when that doesn't work, usually screaming in their face will, but I don't necessarily recommend that. Okay, finally, what you've been waiting for, onto the spells.
Okay, so here I am at my altar. We're going to start off with the general spell. So what you're going to need is a black candle. I like to use tapers for this kind of thing because we are going to be carving into it, but it's really, any black candle is fine. Even if it's in a jar, you can just carve right on the top. You'll need black pepper and then any kind of anointing fluid. This is kind of whatever you want here. I'm going to use 4 Thieves vinegar. This type of vinegar or any kind of just plain vinegar is a great option for this spell. But if all you have on hand are oils or moon water, new moon or full moon water or sun water, whatever, those will work fine. Just like I always tell you guys, personalize it, make it your own. For me, I love, well, first of all, 4 Thieves vinegar is great for banishing in general and for protection, things like that. But I love vinegar for anything that's warding or banishing, cleansing, because vinegar in and of itself is a cleansing fluid. So, yeah. So then you're just also going to need some of your basic things. So, a candle holder and some kind of carving instrument for the candle. I'm going to use a compass. I love using compasses for carving into candles because you get a nice sharp tip there. You can see there's wax left over from my last one. So first I want you to take your carving tool and your black candle and bring your target to mind. Now, for me, I'm going to focus on procrastination. I've had this issue pretty much since after I moved. So for the last 3 weeks, I have been really bad with procrastinating. Procrastination's been an issue. So that is what I am banishing today. So I'm going to carve the word procrastination straight down the candle. Of course, use this for whatever it is you're using it for. If this is a person, carve their name, their full name into the candle. Carve their initials and then drive a great big X through them. You can also carve multiple things. You can use symbols, you can use runes, you can use a banishing sigil, whatever represents whatever it is you're trying to get rid of. Carve that into this candle. And it can be more than one thing if you're just like really trying to drive your point home. Bring that negative thing, person, whatever, into mind. And I want you to focus on how it or they negatively affect you. The things that you want gone out of your life. Focus on that while you are carving. Okay, that is done. It is ugly, but it's there. Now just keep focusing on how this person, this feeling, this behavior, whatever it is, negatively affects you. We are going to anoint the candle. So I'm going to go right over the word procrastination and I'm going to swipe on my vinegar, so upward the candle, so it's going away from me. I want it gone, get it away. So that's how I'm doing it. And the next 2 steps are simple. I know this seems like a really simple spell, but trust me, it is effective despite how simple it is. So still focusing, visualizing on everything I've already told you to focus on. We're gonna light the candle. We're gonna sprinkle some black pepper on top. And then we're just gonna let it burn all the way down. If you want to say a little something out loud, an incantation, or just improvise as you go, now is the time to do it, is when you're sprinkling the black pepper into the flame. Make sure to keep your hand high enough that you don't burn yourself, of course, and remember the air over the flame is going to be hot, so just be careful. And also keep in mind that it might send up a couple of small sparks. Just be careful, be safe, do it nice and slowly. Don't just like drop a bunch of black pepper onto the top of it, okay? So just be safe. So right at the very end there, after I was done speaking and sprinkling the black pepper into the flame, I did spend a moment to visualize this negative behavior of mine, procrastination, this negative behavior getting drawn out of me and into the flame. And as it does so, I imagine how I behave and the improvements I see in my schedule and in my life and in my, I improve, everything improving, and me having more free time because I'm getting my stuff done and how much more productive I'm being. So I visualize that all of this procrastination has been sucked into this candle and it is going to destroy it. So now, once this is burnt all the way down, if there are no remains left, then you're good. You're done. Just cleanse the candlestick holder, whatever you use to hold it, and that's it. If you have remains, get rid of them. Get them as far away from you as possible. Even if you just have to go outside and walk it to the trash bin, that's fine. Just get rid of it. Just always remember to act environmentally friendly. I always like to ask people to do that. Remember, if it's not something that's going to break down, biodegradable in the ground, don't bury it. And of course, depending on the size of the candle, it could take a bit of time. So like this one's gonna take a while. So I'm actually going to move it from here once I'm done filming, and I'm going to set it in my kitchen sink because I know for sure if it happens to tip over or whatever, it's not going to set my apartment on fire. So now we're going to do the more specific spell. So what you need for this one is a piece of paper and a pen. Again, some Four Thieves vinegar. Regular vinegar will be fine. That can be white vinegar, apple cider, whatever you like. I always try to keep spell ingredients as basic as possible for you guys because I know some stuff is kind of hard to get your hands on, and it's always easier to just go to your kitchen and get stuff. Finally, you need a fireproof bowl and then either a black candle, which I'm gonna go ahead and use this one again. You're not burning the whole thing for this, so I'm gonna two birds, one stone with this one, or some matches. On your piece of paper, you are going to write down the person's full name, and then you're also going to include what the behavior is that you want to banish. But we're gonna do this in a sentence format, and I also want you to keep it positive. So don't use any, he won't do this, or he is not acting that way, or whatever. So to reference my example from earlier, as opposed to saying, my brother won't stay out of my room, you would say, my brother, you would want to use his full name, keeps coming into my room without my permission. This works kind of similar to an ammonia jar. And in fact, ammonia jars would also work really well in this instance where you want to be specific instead of just banishing a person entirely. So when I do these spell videos, I usually like to actually do the spell myself, but I don't really have anything for this. So I'm just gonna make something up. I'm going to say, Jane Doe calls me drunk at 3 a.m. because nobody likes it when people do that. So there you have it. It's a full sentence. It's all in the positive, not Jane Doe won't stop calling me while I'm sleeping. It says Jane Doe calls me drunk at 3 a.m. for rides. Very, very similar to phrasing that you would use in an ammonia jar. So I'm going to fold this a couple of times. I don't want it to be like an itty bitty scrap of paper because I need room to hold on to it while I'm, lighting it on fire. But what you want to do is fold it away from you. As always, when you're banishing something, you're folding away, turn it counterclockwise. Just like that. I'm actually probably just going to leave it at that. I don't really want to go any smaller. Dropping that in my fireproof bowl. And of course, with each step, you are visualizing this person doing this obnoxious or irritating or hurtful thing and, just visualizing it, putting all of that energy into it. I forgot to say that earlier, but that's pretty much what you always want to do in almost any spell is visualize as you're going. So now we are taking our vinegar, and you don't need to soak it in the vinegar. You can, I guess, but I'm just gonna put my finger, I'll use my thumb over it and kind of sprinkle a little on here. And great, now my thumb is gonna smell like apple cider vinegar. I'm gonna wash my hands. Ugh. All right, so I'm trying to wipe my fingers off on the paper. I'm probably just gonna have to wash my hands, but I actually got some of like the peppers and things that are in this vinegar mixture on it, that's totally fine. Typically what you would do is then allow it to completely dry. I'm going to skip ahead because like I said, I'm not actually doing this spell. So I'm gonna take that out. Sorry, Jane Doe. I don't want to complete that spell for you anyway. And I'll just use a blank piece of paper. Hold on to this paper and really visualize this person doing this thing. Think of real instances of them committing this behavior that you don't like. Tap into some of the emotion that you feel, but remember what I warned earlier. You don't want to get yourself all riled up and angry. You don't want to get yourself super annoyed or stressed out or frustrated or anxious, whatever. You want to avoid too many negative emotions with this because we don't want to turn it into a curse on accident. You would need a pretty high level of emotion to do that anyway, so don't stress yourself out about it, but tap into them without fully accessing them. Don't, rile yourself all up and go crazy with it. But just tap into them. Plus, there's no need to make yourself feel super negative for no reason. Just recall those moments, recall what you felt at the time, and put that in this paper. So at that point, if you are using a black candle, go ahead and light it up. You don't need to carve into it. You don't need to anoint it. You're just going to use it to burn this piece of paper, and then you can actually blow it out and use it for something else. Have your fireproof bowl ready to go and be very careful. You can, of course, say something while you're doing this if you want to, either reciting something or speaking from the heart. Woo. Or a prepared incantation, whatever you want. I always like to, once the flame goes out, if I still have like big chunks of paper like that left, I'll go ahead and go to that with a lighter. Or I know matches you're supposed to use matches in spell work always, but I'm not going to bother with it right now because I'm not doing the spell. But I would typically just take a match or a lighter, put it in there, get that last bit burnt out. The majority of it burned from the black candle. That's good enough for me. And of course, as you are reciting or saying whatever you wanted to say, you're visualizing. You're continuously visualizing. Once it is all burnt up, get rid of it. You have ashes now. Ashes are totally safe to flush down the toilet. Take it super far from your house and bury it. Throw it in the trash. It's gonna get taken away in a few days anyway, but definitely get it out of your house, so put it in the outside bin. But again, just get it away from you. And that's it.
Thank you all so much for tuning in. I hope this was helpful, and thank you again, Kelly Green, for that wonderful request. If any of you have your own banishing spells that you like to do, go ahead and leave them down in the comments below, as well as any results you've ever had from banishing spells. I always love to hear your guys' stories, so please, comments below. I want to read them. Make sure to hit that thumbs up if you found this helpful, and if you're brand new, welcome. Please subscribe and hit that little bell so you get notifications and never miss any new content. As always, you can reach me on Instagram or email, and I'm still chugging along getting through all of my video requests. But of course, if you have one, please send it to me. It just may be a bit before I'm able to get to it, but I will. I promise I will. That does it for today, witches. I will see you all next week.